Okay, so in this tutorial we'll talk about the basic concepts of Tableau. We are going to focus only on these 10 concepts: how to connect to a database, what are the different ways of connections, how to join tables in the connection process, how do we save Tableau with file, with data, without data, how do we understand dimensions and measures, and we are going to go back and talk about star schema. Then we'll start with simple visualizations. We'll learn about stack chart, tree chart, and maps, basic maps, and then we will understand how to use toolbox and create some calculated fields. So we'll start with creating. First, when we open a blank file, we get this the first screen where we have different options. There are some saved data sources. We can click on them. This part I find useful, the product tour and especially the training video. Quite a few training videos are very interesting and easy to understand, so you should use these training videos. If you have opened worked with Tableau before, then the recent files are shown here. You can click on open workbook and open any of these workbooks. There are some sample workbooks that have been developed, so you can click on them. So now I'm going to click on connect to data, and I will show you what are the different ways of data connections. So here we have the connect data. Two types of connection of data: either it's from the file or from the source or from the server. There are a lot of options in terms of server connections. Most of the database servers we can use to connect data here, starting from Microsoft, Oracle, SAP, and any other products. We can import the data from a workbook, we can get text file, and we can get the most common options such as Excel and Access. There is also another way of connecting data, which is from the website. We can just drag data and just drop it. That's the third option of showing directly data into the workshop in Tableau. So we need the data first, because data is the basic concept that we add to the Tableau, and we do analysis on data. So we need to make sure the data is connected. Okay, so we are going to click on the Excel, and by default it should go to the Tableau repository folder where few of the sample Excel files are kept, and we will work on a subset of that data called Superstore and open that. So when we open this data set, it's going to create a connection, and there will be two ways of attaching that data. Either we can create a live connection, that means if I make a change on that data, it will be also reflected on the dashboards and worksheets that we create. Or we can extract the data, and in that case the changes in the file will not be reflected here. So this data set is has more than 10,000 records. It takes some time to establish that connections. Once it does, it returns with the three types of Excel sheets that it has. So I would like to drag one and put it in the sheet to see how it looks like, and I would be able to also see the data sample here. The first row is our rows and dimensions. So as you can see here, we have measures and dimensions being distinguished here. ABC reflects dimensions, so these are all text. ABC text, ABC text, so these are all text, and you can see that whenever there is a measure, it has the number sign in front of it. So shipping cost is a measure, discount is a measure, order priority is not a measure. It also recognizes that ID is a measure, but later you will see that it will be placed in dimensions, because we are not going to analyze ID as numbers. So you can scroll and check what are the data fields that we have here. each column. So Tableau the data has to be organized in column. We cannot have the field names in rows and do the analysis. So it says that it has 9,426 records. You will see this one has a geography dimension, so it identifies the city as a geographical location. Order date has a special symbol because it is stored in a certain way, which you will see when we connect it into the database. As I said, there are two ways of doing that. If I grab another Excel sheet, it says that okay, I can use both of them together to do the analysis. And the way that there's a join here, so if I click on it, it says an inner join. That means only the common elements of these two files would be shared. And the join is mentioned here. It says that the order ID from the order table is connected to the order ID in the returns table. It's a primary key foreign key join. I can select any other key which I want, but in this particular case I will not be able to select because there are only two fields here. So I can do different joins, and I can also select more than two tables to do the join to do my analysis. Today I will not use these two together. I would only use order, so I'll just take out returns, and once I know that everything is there, I'm going to go to the worksheet to do my analysis. Okay, so here is the tool, and it is a pretty simple tool in terms of the way it is organized, but there are a lot of complex operations that can be done. So we have to be careful on what are the things that we can do with Tableau, and it's always good to go plan it in advance what kind of analytics we are going to display here. So I'm going to show discuss the two basic things here on the left hand side. The database, this is the database where it comes from, and if you click on it, right click, you can actually view the data by clicking here. So we are able to do some kind of operations on the data source itself. We can refresh the data, we can extract further from here, and something more. Okay, as we know that our data is in analytics world, it is classified into two parts, dimensions and measures. So we use dimension to do some measures, and this entire concept comes from the data warehouse star schema, where we have multiple dimensions to analyze measures. So we talked about these kind of dimensions. As I said, ID, though it is a measure, though it is a number, it is used under dimensions because we cannot analyze any numbers using customer ID. Similarly, order date is also put here because we do a lot of analysis by date. Let's say we analyze sales by date, so that's why date is a dimension. We have measure names and measure values, which are certain ways of using them in combinations. We can show them later how they can be used to do some analysis. Okay, here we have so basically the way we operate is we drag dimensions and measures and put it in rows and columns and get some visualization, and further enhance it by adding dimensions or measures here in this format, which we will talk a little bit later. Another important feature that we have here is we would be allowed, if we know in advance that okay, we have to do analysis, let's say between only two measures. So I click control and select these two measures. If I click on show me, then it's like an intelligent tool that will tell that okay, the best way to display this data is by scatter plot, because you're selecting two measures and there is no dimension. So based on whatever we select, we are able to, the tool is going to guide you, but it's not that you have to use whatever it shows me. So I'll uncheck it, and we will first explore the concept. But before that, let's understand a little bit more about dimension and measures, because there are two concepts which we would be able to understand. That if we understand how did we develop this star schema, which we have developed from our ER model, you can see here that here we have product is a dimension, region is a dimension, time is a dimension, customer is a dimension, these dimensions are used for the analysis of sales and profit. So what we have here is very similar. We have customer information that comes from here, product information, we have region information, we have time information such as date, order date, and some other dates, ship date. And we have sales and profit here in measures. So in other words, if we are not able to understand the relationship between all these, and if you go back to ER model, you will be see how product, customer, time, and region, they are all related to each other. So if from here we derive the relationship, and if we are able to map that in advance, that okay, we would analyze product, customer with sales, then our analysis is much more planned rather than just picking up some dimensions from here and just some measures from here. So that's why star schema is something that helps us to do the analysis if we develop it in advance. We talked about this part, which is acts as multidimensionality. If you look at this is multidimensional because we are able to show 3 dimensions here: region, division, and customer group, and we can add more and more dimensions to do our analysis. So if we are able to select a couple of measures and dimensions, and then add more dimensions and more measure, that's where we use color, size, and some other formats here. So if we add a color, we actually add a dimension or measure and make it more realistic. So that's why I think this part is one of the most important part of Tableau. Okay, so now let's create a simple the first visualization using the workbook. We're going to create a bar chart, so I'm going to rename this the sheet 1 and call it as bar chart, and I'm going to drag region in columns, and I'm going to drag product category in row and sales in sales in row. Now the moment I added a measure, as you see it's in green, I was able to get a chart here because just using region and category there were no numbers. You also notice that when I pulled sales, it gave me by default some sales. So sales is a number, so it would allow me to use one of these features. I could have chosen average or maximum sales or minimum sales, but some here is more appropriate here. So you can see that there are two dimension and one measure which is being used here. We can interchange and see the difference. What if I click product category here and region here? Now you can see that it has changed just by doing this. In fact, this is an operation called swap, where we can just do the swapping between columns and rows and see the effect. A good feature of Tableau is it's the undo feature, that because we do customization and do visualization at a pretty rapid pace, so we forget what are the changes we did. So the best way to handle that is doing the undo button, and let's go back, and this is what we started with: region, product category, and sales. We can keep on adding dimensions and measures, but we have to remember that whatever we do must have certain purpose in order to use it in our desired way. Now let's use these features and see how we can add value to it. So I will show you two things here. First, we have product category and sales. If we select a dimension here, let's say order priority, and drop in color, you will see that we now create a stack chart where the priority is determined by the different colors. So we now are working with 4 dimensions, though only 4 metrics and dimensions, though only 3 are displayed here. So we are actually working with 3 dimensions: region, product category, and order priority, and one measure called sales. So this is sales, and the blue means critical. So if you can compare this, we know which particular furniture in which particular zone is more critical or less critical. So certainly we can add color and make it more interesting, but this is a dimension. what if we add a measure in color, and how will it appear? So because sales fee is already represented, so we can choose another measure called profit and drop it in color. Now you note that instead of having stacked chart, we get a same uniform chart, but we added a layer of data, which is the profit. So by just looking at it, I know the maximum profit is here in this particular central and technology, and the lowest profit is here, 16,000, close to $17,000, whereas $297,000, though the profit value is not displayed here. So that is one thing that we noticed. The second thing, the stacked chart, the stacked thing disappeared from here. Now why did it disappear? Because I'm using a measure, so this is a continuous value, these are numbers. If I use stacked, then it will create different regions, different boundaries. So that's why we need to understand what we can drop and how useful it is. If I want to analyze profit and sales together, but I want to only display sales, then I think I should use measure and drop it here, because it creates a gradient, and in fact I would later be able to create a filter where I would be able to show that what is the profit if I choose a certain value or certain range. So let's go back and let's keep the product order priority in color, and let it we will be using this in one of our dashboards later. Now there are so many data here, I would not be able to see the data value here, so one of the ways is to display the value of the data. For that we use label, and we do that by dragging the whatever we display here. So if it says it's displayed, we drag sales, drop it on labels, and we get an exact value here. And again, we can customize it by different ways. Like if we click on selected, that means once we select the particular bar, only then the data will be displayed, or there are some other options as well. Okay, so the first one is ready. Now let's move to create another visualization, and this time we are going to focus on creating a tree chart. So the way we create is we add a worksheet here, and the one which you see in this shape, a grid, is actually a dashboard that would combine multiple elements of that we have created in different worksheets. So let's create a tree chart pretty quickly. And a tree chart or tree map is a way to display data in 2 dimensions, but we are able to display multiple values here in a pretty effective way, and therefore tree chart is used and it is quite popular. So we first rename the sheet as tree map, and now we are going to create a map. Notice the way I'm going to create a map is not by dragging something in columns and rows, but it will be done in a little bit different way. So I have let's say sales, I have profit. I click on control and select that, and let's say I create product category. So product category, and let's look at the option of displaying this combination. So we see that there are different options of combinations, and the tree chart is also highlighted, tree map is highlighted. That means I can show this in tree map. So let me click on it, and I have some displayed as profit, the sales is displayed as in color, and the product category is displayed by the shape. So basically the shape of the rectangles is shown here. Now I would like to change this so that the profit is actually displayed in color. So I'm going to grab and put it in color, and by doing that the color is disappeared. Basically it is color is now being shown, profit is now shown in only color. So I'm going to grab sales and drop it in size, so that now I want to show the sales is in size and profit is in color. That means the larger the size of the rectangle, the more sales it is, and the smaller the size, the less sales. The greater the intensity, the more the profit is. So it is clear that technology is the highest profit in this in the three categories. But this is pretty simplistic. For this I don't need to develop a tree map. I could have done it easily using a bar chart. But as I said before, the advantage of using tree map is to show some multiple values here, and so we are going to add something more here. Let's drag. Now look how I'm going to make this tree map much more informative by adding some more measures and dimensions. And I'm going to use the label here, the concept of label here, rather than adding anything on columns and rows. So I'm going to drag a region here and put it under label. Now you see this tree map has a lot more ways of displaying the data, and I can not just use it for seeing the compare between technology, office supplies, and furniture, but I have comparing that with individual zones. So this is pretty useful. Now I need to see the data right here, so I'm going to use the label once more. This time I'm going to drag sales and put it under labels, so I know this is the sales figure. And similarly, I would like to see the profit here and put it under label and put in the profit. So now you can see that we are displaying 4 different things in the same tree map. We have the product category, we have the region, we have the sales, we have the profit. So this is becoming very interesting, and we are able to use it. Now we need to remember that visualization means that something that is effective and easy to understand. We might make it more complicated. For example, what if I drop order priority in label? Now here, look at it, it is pretty complex here. That means our profit has changed and it has become critical. So unless we are analyzing order priority in this particular context, I would not recommend using tree map in this manner. Rather, I would be rather happy in doing something like this. But I'm going to do certain customization here. For example, I'm going to make it sure that the technology is something that is actually a product category. So I'm going to write here product category and put a colon here. So it means that anybody who is looking at it knows that technology is a product category. Now look at this one here. This is a dynamic field. That means if I select this, this would be replaced by the value. So it will replace by technology or office supplies or furniture. Similarly, I will add the word region here, so that I know that this is about a region, not something else. Here you can see that the sales is there, but I don't know which one is sales, which one is profit. So I'm going to add the word sales, and I'm going to also put a dollar sign and a colon sign in front of it, so that I know that this is sales, which is displayed in dollars. Same, I'm going to write profit and put a dollar sign in front of it, saying that this is profit. So now this makes more sense when I click OK, and you see that I know what is the product category, what region it is, what is the sales, and what's the profit. So this is the basic tree map that I've created here, and later I would like to integrate and put them together in a dashboard. So the next element that I'm going to create in a worksheet is a scatter plot. I have explained the concept of a scatter plot using regression in a different video, so I'm not going to spend much time here. I'm going to quickly create a scatter plot because I'm going to use it in a dashboard. So I will scatter plot shows the relationship between two variables which are quantitative. So I'm going to grab sales in column, profit in rows. I'm going to drag region. So my region is right here. So I'm going to drag region in color, product category in shape, and customer name in color. In detail. The reason we add customer in detail, so that we have a rich number of data and we are able to create different scatter plot. So what it means is profit is explained by sales. So if you right click and click on trend lines and show trend lines, we are able to see different trend lines. and looking at the p-value we know whether these trend lines are significant or not. Watch the video of the regression lines and trend lines to understand more about how to interpret these lines. So our scatter plot is prepared, and now we are going to create one more visualization which is about map. So I'm going to right click and click on map. Map is a very important tool here because of the ability to display data in a multiple ways and adding layers. So map is something that we need to understand and use often in Tableau. So the way we create a map is we need to identify the geographic locations. So you can see the state or province is being identified as geographic location. Postal code is also identified as a geographic location, and city. That means I can do some analysis based on city, based on postal code, and based on state or province. The easiest way to create a visualization with map is just to double click a geographic dimension. So I clicked on state or province, and it's going to give me a map based on the state. So there are two kinds of map that we can draw here. One is that based on points, and the other one is the area. So it's a symbol map and the area map. If I click on the area map, I would be able to see the data in this format where it has certain area. But remember, this each state can be used in a certain way with the data. So for example, if I drop profit in color, you will be able to see clearly that there are some states that has profit, high profit. So high profit means green. So again, the profit is shown in sum, the total profit. I can change it to average profit, or I can edit it in some other ways. So here this is pretty useful because you have the data here. But to make it more useful, I would actually add this, because I put sales here, I'll put it under label so that I know that this actually is the sales number, and I can customize it by putting a $sign and put the sales text in front of it to show that okay, this is sales. So we know there are some issues here with the sales figure in this state and this state. In fact, I may not know the name of the state here, so I would go and grab state, which is the same geographic name, but now I'm going to put it under labels here. So I know Montana has a lower sale, much lower sale than Texas, and there are some problems here. Okay, so let me show you the different other format, which is the second version, which is the point format, which is the symbol map. Now what you noticed here is these symbols are now, I have added two things here. First is you note that the size of this circles, which has been selected as a mark, I would make it explicit as a circle. So now I know this is a circle. Comes in two formats. First, the size is different. The bigger size means the more sales, and the darker means darker. So the darker is the sales. So the profit is the sales. Sorry, the profit is the size. The bigger the profit, the bigger the size, bigger the profit, and the darker it is, the darker is the sales. So it is a nice way to analyze this using this format. But generally sales is about volume, so the shape should be actually sales rather than the size, rather than the color. So I'll do a small change here. I'll put sales and put it under size, and then I will drag profit and put it under color. Okay, now I know that the bigger the size, it means that the bigger the sales. So bigger size, this state, New York, has higher sales, Texas has higher sales, and the darker it is means the profit is also high. Now, so this is pretty good. I can change the size of it. I will click and just drag it a little bit to make it more visible, because there are some states with pretty small size, and make it visible. Okay, this is a pretty useful thing that we have here. We are displaying the data in a certain way, but it can be much more valuable if I add few more things here. The things that I would add here is I can always do a background information, a layer, and Tableau already has that. So I'll go and click on map, and in the background map, those are called layered data maps. In Tableau 8.2, it is under Tableau Classic. So if I click on Classic, and then go and click on map. Okay, it has loaded now. Map and map options. Here I can select a data layer. For example, I'm talking about sales. So how about analyzing sales in terms of let's say household income? So if I click on this, you will see on the background we have the in green, different shades of green, we have the value here. So it means the income, it is this one is household income. The household income is higher in certain states and lower in certain states. So if I am able to push, let's say this is a very low populated state, if I have a high sales here, that means I have done quite a lot here, but it is understood that the sales is low because the population is also low, whereas the sales is high, the population is high, say in New York and California. Okay, so but I see that the color of it is difficult to understand. I'm not able to read some of the color, it's not coming out. So I can do one thing here. I can go and change the color format here. So I'll go and click on edit color, and instead of green to show the profit, I'm going to choose red so that it stands out. So now you know that this is all about red. The more the red, the darker shade of red means high color, and the lighter shade of red means low profit. So you can see that the map is pretty useful. Either we can use an area map, or you can use label maps such as this. Both have different purpose. Certainly if you want to use area map, then I cannot use the background data layer. I would have to use this particular label map to show the background data which is already there. Okay, so now let's put all these three some of the features that we just created into one single dashboard and make them interactive. So we will create a dashboard that will display the map, sales map, the bar chart, and the scatter plot all in one place. So if you look at, let's have a quick look at it. So we are going to display bar chart, we are going to display scatter plot, we are going to display scatter plot, and we are going to display the map. So map is the overall sales, so no matter what we select, we will be able to use map. But let's look at the similarities between bar chart and scatter plot. We must use in the bar chart and the scatter plot must show something in common. So what we see here is product category being displayed here, and in the scatter plot we also have the product category. So maybe this is something that is common, and we need something common so that when we use the bar chart, when we use the dashboard, we want to make it interactive. So there has to be a common element so that we can work on it. This should not be there this time. Okay, I'm going to add a filter here. First of all, I'm going to display this the product category on bar chart so that I can use it to control the other parts of the dashboard, which I'm going to show in a minute. For that, I will create a quick filter. Now there are different ways of creating filters. I'm going to click on show quick filter here, and you can see that this filter appears, and it is one way to make the display interactive. If I just click on furniture, I'm going to see the furniture. If I click on multiple products, I will be able to see everything on the same time. Now I have this customized, so when I selected a filter here, the filter will appear here. So you know how to use the marks. Now it is displayed as a bar. We talked about color, size, label, detail, that will appear here, And now we talked about that anytime we can drag anything or create a filter, that should appear here. So let's go and click on the dashboard. Now because I named these worksheets, so now I know what exactly these are. So it's always good to name the worksheets. So the way I'm going to show is I'm going to have a map right here, and then on this side I'm going to have a scatter plot, and this side I'm going to have the bar chart, and I'll try to make all of them interactive. So I'm going to grab map and put it right on the dashboard right here. So I get the entire map. Now I'm going to add the scatter plot right on this corner. Now first I'm going to divide the dashboard into two parts. You can see there is a shaded region below and there is an unshaded in the top. So I drop it here. So this entire is scatter plot and map, and the third element is bar chart, which I'm going to drop right here. So right now I have three different elements and I want to combine them. If you click on it, you will see that that is being highlighted, but the effect of it is not shown here or here. So I'm going to do a little bit changes here. First is as you see here, these are all labels. This is label, this is label, this is label. This is not a label. This is something that user need to select. So I have to pull this up. So I'll just select and grab it and pull it all the way in the top, and I'm going to make it interactive. So that's why this one, what I'm going to do here is click on it, and then here I'm going to select apply this filter to all the elements of the dashboard that are using this data source. Now because everything is using the same data source, so if I click on that, now you will see that if I click on one, then the effect of it is also shown everywhere. I've clicked on furniture, the furniture is displayed here. The profit analysis of profit and sales is only with furniture, and all the products that I've selected is furniture. Now I know that this is furniture because look at the profit here, 517. If I select everything, the profit is much more. That means the filter is working correctly. This is useful, the checkbox is useful when you're allowing the user to select more than one element. I can also make it a combo box so that user will be able to select only one of these options. Okay, user doesn't know at this time that it's something to click, so I'm going to modify the title by saying that click on a category, so you know exactly what to click here. Okay, I can change the type of the filter by either choosing, as I said, as a combo box or a wildcard match. These are not effective or useful here. Only combo box and list is effective here. Slider and these are more useful when we have a number to select. This is a dimension, so there is no number. I don't need a slider here. Now it is important to note that this interactiveness will be also shown here. So if I do certain changes here, the individual worksheets are also going to be get affected. So make sure that you always create dashboard towards the end. Otherwise what's going to happen is, suppose you created a dashboard and do certain changes and then you delete the dashboard, all those changes will be reflected here, so you lose the original bar chart that you created. So be very careful on creating a dashboard. I would suggest do all the customization and changes right in the bar chart and all other elements, and use the dashboard just to drag and drop and make it interactive. Okay, so I already made it interactive by selecting one of these. I want to go further by saying that okay, I now know that okay, I have the analysis of all furniture in all the states. Okay, now how about I zoom in into one particular state? So to do that, I will use one more interactive feature called use as a filter. So when I do that, so now already furniture is highlighted, but now if I click on California, whatever is shown is only in California. So furniture sales in California, and this is the scatter plot for those particular customers, and this is how the orders were prioritized for those customers. So I can select one here. I will be able to select only one at a time, one state at a time. If I don't want to select any one of the states, I just click here and all the states will be shown here. So I made this interactive, I made this whole thing interactive, but I can add one more interactiveness at this level as well. because look, if I click on one particular type of order priority, the change is not reflected here. So to make that, I will do the same thing that I just did with the map. I'll go and click on bar chart and click on use as filter. So now if I click on one particular element of bar chart that which is critical, so now it shows that furniture, what are the critical products which were ordered and what is the effect on the scatter plot. So now all the three maps are interactive, and it is working in this way. I would like to say one more thing right at this point, that though I made this so much of interactiveness, but I only suggested the user to click on this. So the user may not know that if I click on this, I would be able to make it see data in a more granular level, or I'm able to click on California, I'm able to click this on granular level. For that, I need to give specific instructions for that. For example, I can say that step number 1, step A, click on a category. Step 2, click on a state of a map. Step 3, click on a particular bar chart. So the instructions should be pretty much clear to the users. At least I can definitely write here that map, instead of just this here, I can just write click on state. So now the user knows that if the user clicks on a state, it will be much more interactive, and the data would be able to analyzed easily. When we have that, there are other options of showing the dashboard. There are different formats. If I click on floating, then some of the elements will float. I can use an image, I can put a web page here, I can leave certain space blank, and I can do all other things as I see here. I can also make it a highlighted presentation mode. If I click on it, I would be able to see only the dashboard without any other concept. So it is being useful for presentation. Press escape to come out of the presentation mode. Now our dashboard is all ready. We have connected all the stuff. Now let's go back to file and show how to save the data here. There are two ways. If I click on save as or save, this is going to be saved in a particular file or folder that I want to use, and you see that the extension is .twb. But if I save it in this format, I am not going to save the data that comes along with it. I'm going to save only the format of the dashboard. So it's always a better idea to save the data together. For that, I'm going to click on file and click on export packaged map, and now you see that it comes with twbx. That means that data dashboard is the database is included in that. So this is a better way of saving the work package, because you are able to show the data in a you are able to use the tool in a more effective way, because the data is already included here. So that is how we use the data here. And I also can tell you that, okay, I have created this dashboard, but now let's say there is one particular scatter plot or something that has been created by one of my friends in a different dashboard using the same data set. So I can import that. I can click on import file, import workbook, and then I can import that exact worksheets that somebody else has created here and put them together and work on it. So let's quickly revise what we did so far. We created a connection to the database in different ways. We joined the tables, showed how to join the tables, multiple tables. One thing to note here, that if we don't join multiple tables, then if we want to show a dashboard that is interactive and one parts come from one table, another part comes from another table, we will not be able to show the interactiveness unless the tables are joined. Showed you how to save the data both with and without data. If it is without data, it will be TWB. If it is with data, it will be TWBX. We talked about understanding dimensions and measures, and especially the toolbox. Toolbox add much more dimensions to it, and dimensions and measures are related to the star schema that we learned in the earlier classes. We talked about how to create simple visualizations such as stack chart, tree map, and other things that we created, and including maps. And one thing we didn't create is something called calculated fields, which we might use it in some of the elements. For example, if we have a bar chart and we want to display, let's say, profit margin, or let's say gross profit, which is sales minus profit, I would be able to allowed to create a measure, and I'll just right click here and click on create calculated field, name the calculated field as gross profit, and then I would be able to select, or let's say gross sales. Gross sales is sales, so I select my sales here and then click on minus and select profit. We will learn in much more, and I see the calculations value. That means I'm able to create a new measure here. We would be able to use this in a much more effective way when we learn the concept of parameters and how to use that. When I click on OK, you see that the measure is highlighted with the equal to sign in front of it. That means I have created it from the existing measures. So going back, we created the dashboard, connections, tables. We understand the measure and dimensions. We talked about visualizations, talked about tree maps, and we talked about the toolbox, created calculated fields, and created basic maps, and created a dashboard and combined them together. In the next tutorial on the video, we are going to talk some more concepts about Tableau, in particular how to publish and share our work in a server-based environment, so that we can share this with our friends or other people, and they would be able to view our work and still be able to see that interactiveness.